everyone, it's Shel C from PaperOcotilloStudio, and today I'm sharing with you day 23 art journal page for the event hashtag AJ Snark Attack 2020, which is brought to you by the Art Joy of Sharing Facebook group. We offered some snarky quotes, and we are doing a daily page every day in October 2020. So you can still join us and do some snarky art journal pages. It's a way to just get yourself going and get some creativity happening. So I started this page on our Art Joy of Sharing live stream on Thursday. I was finished with day 22 and I was just messing around with some Dilutions paints. My paints are so dry. They are really gunky. So I'm just trying to get some on the page using a stencil brush. This is the kind of toothbrush style makeup brush, and I was trying to use some fall colors, the pomegranate, the chopped pesto, and the melted chocolate, I think is the name of the other one, which actually turns out to be kind of a terracotta color in this application. This art journal is Dilutions Dialogue Journal, which is for making planners, but I just use them for art journals. The paper is a manila cardstock, like a tag, smooth paper, so you can put paint on with a brush like that if you want to. And then I decided to do some stenciling. This stencil is so interesting. This is a recent Stencil Club stencil from StencilGirl. I'll put all the links to all the stencils I used on this page, which were all StencilGirl stencils, down below the video. I used a lot of different stencils on this one, so basically the whole thing is stenciled. And that was fun. Stencils are a great way to get some pattern and color going, and so this stencil was designed by Ray Missigman, and it's a botanical stencil, but it just looks like a bunch of vines kind of curling around. I don't know. It's a cool stencil. I want to gel print with it because I think it would make some really fun gel prints, but I haven't gotten around to it yet. So I stenciled that over the top of all my fall looking colors using Titan Buff or off-white paint because I was still in that fall color mood. And then I have a new stencil that has some brushes and pencils and pens on it. And I was thinking of the quote that we had that said, "Why buy it for $7 when you can make it for yourself for $82 in craft supplies?" I think almost everyone watching this video would understand that sentiment 100%. We all do it. We say, "Oh, I can make that." I do it all the time, all the time. I will see something, I'm like, yeah, I could make that. And so I just go out and try to buy either the fabric or the yarn or the whatever that I could make it with, and then that ends up being so much more expensive than the manufactured thing. But hey, it was handmade, and you made it yourself, and that's cooler. So I approve of anyone who wants to do this. I certainly couldn't complain, could I, since I do it. So I stenciled a watercolor brush, a flat wash brush, a charcoal pencil, and a crayon. I did the crayon. I did three of them in black and then some gray for the ferrules on the brushes. And then I did the small crayon in the pomegranate color paint that was one of the ones that I used in the background. And I like the way that looks. I'm really into vertical, horizontal things now. I'm kind of obsessed. So I did need to clean it up a little bit. Okay, about stenciling. There's a couple different factors. One factor being what you stencil with, whether it's a stencil brush, a pouncer, a makeup applicator, sponge. Any of those things are great for stenciling, but the number one mistake that people made, including myself, is to get too much paint on whatever stencil tool that you're using. So you need to pounce it in the paint, and then you need to bounce it off so that there's not a big gloppy amount. Because if the stencil's not pressed completely down tight, you will get paint underneath it, and then you'll get what I have here on this round watercolor brush on the left. I had splotches, so that I had to go in and clean up the splotches because it had leaked underneath. So when I decided to stencil some design on the brush handles because I thought they were boring, I decided to use some of these little AT stencils. This one, ATC stencils. They come 9 to a sheet, and I cut them apart. This one was designed by Seth Apter, and I decided to tape, rather than just winging it, I decided to use some painter's tape to mask off the area of the background that I wanted to stencil. So I put some kind of light pink violet on the flat brush, and then I decided to go with like a blue turquoise on the round brush. I think it would be fun if your paintbrushes look like that. Of course, I destroy my paintbrushes. I leave them in the water too long. I get paint on the handles and I don't wipe it off, so they wouldn't stay pretty like this. But wouldn't it be fun if they started out that way? Maybe we'd buy more brushes if they were decorative. I don't know. I buy plenty of brushes as it is. So once that was done and dried, I decided to touch up a little bit. Throughout, you will see me bring in some Posca pins. I have a black fine Posca pin that I'm touching things up with, and then I also have an off-white or Titan Buff or Buff Titanium or unbleached titanium color Posca pin that's a medium tip. I wish it was a fine tip, but it's a medium tip. And that one came from a weird set of Posca pins that were designed to be skin tones. So there's a light off-white, a darker off-white, a peach color, and a brown. And I don't know when I got those, but it's a different set. I love Posca pens. They are acrylic paint pens. They work really well when you're using acrylic in your journal because they will write on the top of it. There's not very many pens that will write over the top in an opaque way over the top of acrylic paint because acrylic paint is plasticky. So if you find things that you like, you should just stick with them. I like my Posca pens. I like my Faber-Castell Pitt pens. I like my brush pen that has India ink in it from Pentel. I don't have much success with gel pens. Other people do. People think they're great, but mine just dry out like instantly, and then they don't work. People say, oh, store them in the refrigerator. Well, store them in the refrigerator? The refrigerator's downstairs. I don't have a refrigerator in my studio, and I don't want to store my pens in there. I don't even understand that. So I just prefer acrylic paint pens. Arteza also has a set of acrylic paint pens. They have a wider tip, however. So I'm very fond of the Posca pen and the fine tip. Not the extra fine, but the fine. And then I have a lot of them that's in medium, and they come in everything. I mean, you can even get them in really wide tips, but I just want the smaller ones. So for my words, I wanted it to kind of look like one of those ransom notes. You know, that fun look of ransom notes where you cut all the different letters out of different newspapers or magazines or whatever and paste them on a page. I think that's a fun look. I decided to do it with stencils. So I'm using a few different stencils and I'm picking and choosing the letters out of the stencils and stenciling them on with ink. This is archival ink from Ranger. It's the black archival ink, and I'm using again one of those little brushes from the set, which I will put below here. Originally designed for makeup application, but I think they're great for stenciling. And so I am using the small round one. It's just a little teeny tiny round brush and stenciling in these letters using the archival ink in black. And I'm switching back and forth between different stencils. Some of these stencils have images. Some of them just have all words. And I think it's fun. It took me a minute, but it was fun to do, and it was a lot of words. So this might have been more fun maybe with a shorter quote, but it turned out really cute, I think. I think it's cute. Of course, the background is super busy, and so I am going to have to do something to make them stand out, which I will. But why buy it for $7 when you can make it for yourself for $82 in craft supplies? I mean, seriously, why? So I put the words craft supplies up the edge of the outside, and it kind of it serves two purposes. It finishes the quote, and it also kind of shows what the page is about, and also finishes off the composition, because there was a bare spot there. After I filled in all those words, there was a bare spot. Also, I ran out of space at the bottom, so I think it turned out super cute. So once I get everything stenciled in, which I'm almost done here, the next thing I'm going to do is find the right off-white pen, because there's two of them. There's a lighter one and a darker one. I chose the darker one because it matches that color, it pretty much almost exactly matches the color that I stenciled in the background, that off-white color that I stenciled with the twirly swirly vine thing in the background. So now I'm going around the letters with my own hand, which of course is shaky. Another thing that you could do is to put the stencils back on and trace inside the stencils if you were concerned about, you know, it looking, if you want it to be more neat. My hand is shaky. I can't draw those on perfectly, but I think that it really makes the letters stand out better. Also, it serves the purpose of covering if I over stenciled. You know, some of those letters were super close together, and so I'm using a small brush, but even so, sometimes I got a shadow of the next letter, part of the next letter. So by tracing around with the pen, I could also cover those smudges up. I decided that the 8 didn't look right without it being, you know, filled. It was weird like that. Had I realized I was going to use another color of Posca pen, I would have done the circles inside with that pinky violet color, because I think that would have been cool. Actually, I might go back and do it. But for now, I just colored the circles in the spaces with the off-white pen. I'm going to speed this up real soon so that you don't have to, you know, this wasn't a work-intensive process. At the top, I just took my fine tip pen and I colored in the Y, the by, and the for, and also the make. I just colored them blacker. Ink doesn't always seem black enough for me, but then all the rest of the letters I drew around the outside of them with the off-white pen. In some cases I touched up, like this, the word for. If the pen, you remember that off-white pen is a medium tip, so it would have been easier to do this if it was a fine tip. On the big letters, doesn't matter, but on those little skinny, teeny, tiny ones, it's a little bit tricky. I am going to go back on this page, and I'm going to take that pinky violet pen and color in the circles on the 8 and the half circles on that $sign with pink. I think it'll be cute. And it'll bring it over into the other page, because that pink color is only on the right-hand side, and there's none on the left-hand side. Of course, there's no blue turquoise on the right-hand side, so I might have to do something about that too, but I think it'll be cuter if I do that. But I didn't think of it till just now when I was editing the video. It's kind of how it goes. I hope you guys are enjoying our snarky October event. We've been having a lot of fun. There's some really cool pages over in the Art Joy Sharing Facebook group that you guys can come and join if you want. Of course, give my video a thumbs up, leave me a comment or question below, subscribe if you haven't already, and turn on your notification bell so you know when there's a fresh new video coming. And of course, you can share this on Pinterest or Facebook. All those things tell YouTube that my video is something that you value, and it will recommend it to more people who might be interested in the same thing as you. So that's always helpful. I did add a few little spatters in a couple places, and I took this precious metal spray that was still on my desk from yesterday and filled in some shiny metallic area on the ferrules of the brushes. And then I was pretty much done with this page. I think there's a couple more things. Oh yeah, I still got the pinky violet pin out. I touched up a little bit more, fussy touched up a little bit more with the black to make sure everything was super readable, because that's the important part, right? And then I just wanted to jazz up the crayon, and that's when I got out that pin. So I think I'm done for day 23. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.